So this is going to be another movie review. This is a documentary called Chevolution 2008. I fucking hated this piece of shit. I'm giving it 1 out of 5 stars. This is going to be an apology for communism, the ideology of mass murder. We're talking hundreds of millions of people murdered in the 20th century thanks to this depraved and evil ideology called communism. That's what the makers of this movie don't realize when they're spreading propaganda about Che Guevara or Ernesto Che Guevara. Okay? I don't know why he is worshipped in movies and t-shirts, given his depraved ideology. Nobody has yet explained that to me. They say his revolution was based on love in this movie. Are you kidding me? His firing squads murdered 14,000 people. The only good thing you can say about it is that it's relatively mild in comparison to Mao's murder of 100 million people. Okay? There are even stories of the firing squads going after crippled freedom fighter, guy with no leg. And this movie just goes on to compare Ernesto Che Guevara to Jesus Christ and other Greek, some Isocrat, some kind of Greek folk hero. And it's ironic that something as shallow as one photographic image could make him into such a false idol. It's like that old Nikon commercial with the tennis player Andre Agassi, when he used to say image is everything. I'm sure Adolf Hitler agreed with him. Okay? And it's ironic that Fidel Castro didn't believe in copyright laws allowing his image to be exploited by the capitalists, so to speak. That is the ultimate irony. They throw in a token Republican and libertarian in there to say that the T-shirt was a product of capitalism. There's actually a T-shirt that says that under Ernesto Che Guevara's image, and there's another T-shirt that's actually worn by the libertarian. It's actually more accurate, where it shows human skull. And where the star is, it's the hammer and the sickle on his beret. So they spend a lot of time talking about the photograph, how it came about, who photographed it. I guess the guy's Corda, the guy's family, figured out some kind of lawyering bullshit, went after some big name corporations, Rage Against the Machine, the band that was putting his image on their amplifier and later on their single cover and on their t-shirts. So, and they do go into some detail about the sordid career of Che Guevara. They show a very short clip of his firing squad. It lasts for about 5 seconds, and it's kind of the video is kind of overlaid with some Cuban guy in the U.S. who decries, rightfully so, the hero worship of Ernesto Che Guevara. I don't even know why they bothered to make a movie about this scumbag. I mean, how many people did Charles Manson murder? Nobody, zero. And yet this guy murders 14,000 people, and they make a T-shirt after him? Give me a break. I mean, who's the mass murderer? Charles Manson or Ernesto Che Guevara? And again, they say he's a hero of the working class, which is a bunch of bullshit. He couldn't manage the sugar plantations. He had to volunteer his time on Sunday. He still couldn't figure it out. That's because, as Ludwig von Mises, the great Austrian economist, once opined, the state doesn't know how to calculate prices or do anything that the free economy can do. So that's my rant on this movie. Absolutely hated it. I didn't care that Che Guevara started out in Argentina, then he motorcycled his way to Mexico where he met Fidel Castro, and they put 82 people on a boat that was fit for 20 people to fight Bautista, the corrupt U.S. puppet. And by saying that I absolutely loathe communist ideology, including but not limited to Mao Zedong and Ernesto Che Guevara and Fidel Castro. That's not to say that the puppet dictator Bautista was any better. And the canard that they put up that Guevara was rebelling against authority is total bullshit. As soon as he assumed power, he told people to worship his government. How is that being anti-authority? And they try to mix it in with the hippie movement and the Vietnam War. Just because people march with a bunch of Che Guevara signs doesn't mean that every single hippie worships Che Guevara, okay? It's not representative of an entire movement. So that really pissed me off too. I just absolutely hate these kind of movies. Like I said, they spend very little time investigating the opposite side, the opposite opinion. In my view, they just had the token Republican and Libertarian students wearing their respective satire Che t-shirts, and the one token Cuban living in the U.S. who absolutely hates Fidel Castro and communism, rightfully so. But I would imagine that same person supports sanctions against Cuba and restrictions on travel and the whole bit, which don't make any sense. So if they had spent the entire movie interviewing these types of people instead of jackasses like Antonio Banderas and the actor from Y Tu Mama Tambien, yeah, these are real experts on political economy. Not. One more thing to piss me off about this movie, and I really hated Y Tu Mama Tambien. I disliked that movie. Antonio Banderas is pretty good in some Pedro Almodovar movies. So, good actor, but fucking stupid politics. It's not surprising that he plays a lot of gay characters in Pedro Almodovar movies, given that the director is gay. I can understand and appreciate that. I have nothing against homosexuality per se, although I am Catholic, and the Bible is very clear about homosexuality. It doesn't mean I necessarily impose my values on gay people or try to tell gay people to be straight or worship Jesus or whatever. I'm not the type of person who imposes my values on other people, so don't need to judge him. Banderas, because he played a bunch of gay characters. I just thought I'd throw it out there just as kind of an FYI. And I enjoyed some of his movies where he played a gay guy. I don't remember the names of all of them, but some of them are pretty good. So I'm not saying that Banderas is a bad actor. I'm just saying that he doesn't belong in the documentary about a political figure. Okay? Just because he's from Spain doesn't mean that he's an expert in Cuban politics. Or any kind of politics, for that matter. Spain is, for the most part, financially bankrupt. But that won't stop these leftist Hollywood actors from worshiping the state and Che Guevara, Ernesto Che Guevara. I guess the Cubans called him Che because they just gave him that nickname. It sounds cool, I guess, in Latin American circles. So, as you can tell, I'm not a big fan of the guy. He deserved to get shot in Bolivia, in my opinion. He should have been hanged, actually. And they even go so far as to compare his deathbed photograph to the crucifixion of Jesus, which is absolutely ridiculous and self-contradictory. Just because you say your communism is love doesn't make it so. And I'm sure Jesus would agree with that, but I don't pretend to know what Jesus knows. A lot of people, including FDR, uses the money changers and the temple example during the Great Depression to go after the capitalists here in the United States, the so-called capitalists. So there's that element. Some people think that Jesus was a communist. I know the French filmmaker Godard believes that crap. But there are other people, lesser known people, who think that Jesus was actually an anarchist, which is probably closer to the truth. Especially when he talks about turning the other cheek and, loving your neighbor and loving everyone, that kind of stuff. Yeah, the Sermon on the Mount is pretty much peaceful for the most part, unless you include the part about poking your own eyeballs out by looking at another woman lustfully. That was a little extreme, but for the most part, Jesus is the true warrior for peace, not Che Guevara. Give me a break. Don't even bother watching this. It's painful to watch. These trendy people worshiping an image as a symbol of anti-authoritarianism, which is self-contradictory. Just sickening and totally absurd. It shows how stupid people are, really. Even at the beginning of the movie, they talk about how people wear this image on their t-shirt and they don't even know what it means, which is probably true for like 99.9% of the people who are in this movie. So that's about the only truthful part, but I think it's the fatal conceit lies in where they bemoan the fact that these people don't know that Che Guevara was a symbol of anti-authoritarianism, which is absolute rubbish. So what they say in the beginning is true in a way, but then they kind of, later on, they kind of contradict what they said with a bunch of bullshit, basically. So I think I've beaten this dead horse enough. I'm not going to belabor the point, but man, this movie pissed me off. There are very few movies that really, really piss me off in a bad way. This one had to be one of them. I suppose if you make a movie like this, by its very nature, it has to be pro-communist or apologists for communism, the horrors of mass murder and whatnot. Because no anti-communist would be in the right mind to make a movie about this kind of political figure, even if it was anti-communist. There would be no reason to make it in the first place, because it would just promote the image of this communist turd creep guy. And when he really should be thrown out to the garbage can of history and completely forgotten, actually, would be more appropriate fate for him. I don't even know why he's on a t-shirt, to be honest. Just because he has a striking image of being angry in his beret, which later became the motivation for the Black Panthers, I guess. Black Panther Party, along with Maoist kind of Cultural Revolution stuff. I don't know. I just got really, really angry by this film. If there was any justice in the world, Ernesto Che Guevara would be completely forgotten. And instead, he's worshipped like a hero, which makes absolutely no sense unless you think in context of how stupid people are nowadays. Idiocracy is beginning to look more and more like a reality instead of art, especially when you look at the two presidential candidates for U.S. president, or even 3 or 4 presidential candidates for U.S. president. Oh man, I could go on for hours, but I'll let you go. Laters.